older everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Untidy. My name is Matilda Green. I'm a content creator, author, and mum of 3, and I'm here with my always radiant, but today under the weather co-host.
Slightly under the weather, Hannah Davison. I am the co-founder and author of the My Big Moments children's books. I'm a mum of 2 and I have a head cold.
Oh, bless you. Tis the season.
Well, I probably have to take some responsibility here. I let myself have fun. And I have been unduly punished, I think.
I mean, what happens when we have fun, eh? We pay for it, always.
So I went down to Wanaka over the weekend, which was great, to visit some friends. We went to the secret sauna in Lake Hawea, which is obviously not that secret, even less so now. But it's
It looked
beautiful,
amazing.
yeah, like those wooden barrel saunas. And you get ready in a little yurt with like furs all over the floor, furry things, and a fireplace. Lovely. You have your sauna in this wooden barrel. And then what's nice is the girl who has this sort of Scandinavian accent comes in and she puts the water with the special blend of oil on the hot stones. And obviously you need someone with a Scandinavian accent to be running your sauna. I don't want to hear a Kiwi accent in there while I'm trying to like sweat in a wooden barrel. And then she helicopters a hand towel around and it pushes the scented steam down onto you while you're sweating. And I'm like, this is the way that I want to only sauna now. Looking out this beautiful window over Lake Hawea, and then in between each round, we'd pop out into the 0-degree air temperature, pop on some complimentary Crocs, scuttle down to the water's edge, and dive into the lake.
Oh my gosh. If that is not the most dreamiest situation. I saw it on your Instagram story and I was really jealous. Like, I love a sauna, but what I wouldn't give to be able to get into the beautiful lake afterwards. And oh God, and it was all misty, wasn't it?
It was
misty.
very
Oh.
ethereal, and a certain amount of smugness, I think, being like, I'm in Lake Hawea in July, you know?
A polar swimmer, no less.
Polar swimmer, no wetsuit. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I went 2 days in a row.
Oh, so good. Did you ever play was it a CD-ROM? I think it was a CD-ROM. The game Myst back in the 90s.
No.
Did you play Myst? Oh, okay. It was like a parent thing in the 90s to play Myst. It was a computer game. And
For parents or for children?
no, it was for adults, I think. I was like 7, so I just assumed it was for adults because I couldn't figure it out. But the main reason why I'm bringing it up is because the scene was very like Myst, the computer game. So if you Google it, it's like on an island and you've got to figure out these puzzles and everything's misty and it's got interesting suspenseful music.
Yeah.
Sounds
great. Sounds like a sort of Nordic murder mystery that's about to take place. I tell you a game that I used to love to play back in the day, back in the 90s. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh, a classic. A true classic.
How good was that? Because there was one computer per classroom. Maybe, was it even in the school? I can't remember at this time. I think it was in primary school. And you had to put your name on a list to get your 20 minutes or whatever to get on the computer and play Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Oh, it was such a good game. And, you're learning about geography, aren't you? And other cultures. It's educational.
And a woman of mystery. And I was like, oh, I
and
liked
it
her
was a woman
style.
spy. It was something kind of cool about it, thinking like, yeah, she's badass. I want to be a spy when I'm older. And then as you get older, you realize actually being a spy is not so attractive.
We would be really bad at it because we tell everybody our secrets.
I tell them within the first few minutes of meeting them. They're like, don't tell anyone, I'm a spy.
Isn't that cool?
Check out my little spy glass.
I've got a pistol in my knickers. Isn't that fun? It's tiny. God, it's adorable. Let me show you. Oh, God. Okay, so I decided that because this year has been a year where I've been doing a lot of like self-work, inner work, personal development. It's been kind of crunchy, but I've been leaning in, we love it. My next homework assignment to myself is the pursuit of joy, just for the sake of feeling joy and doing things that are joyful and just following my curiosity and my instincts and having the pleasure of doing that, because it's so easy, I think, when you're deep in working on yourself, like you can get too serious and there hasn't been enough levity. Joy sometimes has felt a little bit hard to come by. And so I was like, I'm off. I'm throwing my things in my
I'm
car.
going to go have fun.
I'm going to Wanaka to see my friends. We're going to have a great time. And we did. And I also, which is out of character for me, stayed up both nights drinking red wine with my friends, which at the time was great. But this is why I now sound like this,
Mm.
because I no longer am game ready for drinking Malbec, as it turns out.
Oh, God, I know. But also, you could have been more sick, but you were doing contrast therapy at the same time. And that is good for your immune system. So actually, you were balancing a little bit. You had the red wine at night, but then you're also something about heat shock proteins. I don't know. Something happens to them when you're doing contrast therapy. Ask Art.
Yeah, okay. I have two questions, which we're probably not going to answer. We might have to call them in. One, it's good for your immune system, but is it still good when you are already sick? Or is it just when you're not sick and then you shouldn't challenge your immune system more? But either way, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to the sauna and doing it because I feel like I'm frying it out of myself. And if that's just psychological, I don't care. It could work. Let's find out. Or I'll
No,
prolong it.
there's definitely, I don't want to say research because I don't
That's
know
not
what I'm
what we come
talking
here
about.
for.
There's stats that I have seen that talk about how it's good if you've got a cold, but not if you've got a fever. If you've got a fever, you don't want to be getting into a sauna because Huberman actually said that's when you can kill some brain cells and those little suckers do not come back.
I
I
need
know.
everyone that I've got.
Same. I'm already hyper aware of the fact that I'm lacking some, in a lot of areas. I can't afford to lose anymore. Yeah, anytime I've got a fever, don't go near the sauna.
Okay, that's fine. I
Mm.
don't have a fever, so that's fine. My second sauna related question is, and I had this thought yesterday because I did my sauna and ice bath sesh, and when I started the sauna, I kind of had a half full bladder, but I couldn't be bothered wrestling with my togs to sort it out, and I just wanted to get in the sauna, and I was like, oh, I'll deal with it in between rounds at some stage. And then at the end, after an hour, it was less. And I'm like, okay, if so say you're sweating a lot, so you're becoming more dehydrated, even if you're replenishing it with water. In the sauna, you're sweating out God knows how much over the course of an hour, like maybe a litre. Who knows? Don't come here for those facts. Can you reabsorb fluid from your bladder if your body is becoming dehydrated? Is that something the body will do? It's like, we're freaking out, you're getting dehydrated, I'm going to take some from this storage facility here and circulate that back around.
I mean, my answer to that is it makes sense.
Thank you.
You know? I reckon I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's fluid there. It's inside the body. Like, I can't imagine the body would be like, actually, that's in the bladder. We don't touch the bladder. The bladder is separate. Surely it's all one moving thing. Okay, so you've been saunaing, you've been ice laking, you've been doing all the things. Now
I've
you've got a
been drinking
cold.
Malbec and now I've got a
Oh,
cold. But I
oh my
tell
gosh.
you what, I had such a I loved all of it. Not so much the cold, of course, but I loved all of it. I even loved just like driving down by myself with my phone on do not disturb and listening to some great podcasts. I had a good car sync to my 90s nostalgic playlist, which is in our highlights on our Instagram account. And the great thing is that you know all the words.
So
'Cause
you really can just go
you
handy.
really can go absolute honey. It was such a joy just not having like constant interruptions and notifications coming in on the phone, feeling like you're on call and that you need to respond, just shutting it all out. All I had to do was drive, look at the scenery, listen to whatever I'm listening to.
Mm,
It
mm,
was
mm.
heaven. And then I listened to an audiobook on the way home.
Oh, what was the audiobook?
Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey, who obviously,
Matthew McConaughey's written a book?
yeah,
Is it a autobiography or is it like a
yeah,
novel?
it's an autobiography.
Oh,
And he's a
cool.
really good storyteller. And of course, he's got a great voice. So you want to get the audiobook version, which I learned that you can get it on Spotify Premium. Sadly, not an ad, everyone. Sadly, not an ad.
Yeah, we haven't signed an exclusive Spotify deal yet.
Yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nibbling on the heels of
We're
Joe
next
Rogan.
in line behind Joe Rogan.
Yeah. But I hadn't cottoned onto this because I've always avoided Audible because I don't want to pay another subscription.
Mm.
But got onto that. I'm like, oh my God, there's all these audiobooks. That is fantastic.
Oh, how good. I find it hard to get into audiobooks. I
Long
do.
drive. That's the key.
Yeah, it is. Because I'm only driving kind of here and there. There's not enough time to really immerse.
Mm.
And then I can't get used to the voice and then I'm tuning out and, it's
And if
just
the
doesn't
narrator has a
work.
terrible voice, then that just ruins it. That's the end for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I did listen to The Midnight Library with Kerry Mulligan was the
Oh,
narrator. And she was quite good, actually. Yeah. So
nice.
highly recommend.
Highly recommend. What are you reading at the moment? We were going to do like a little this is what we're reading book corner, but we keep
Oh, we
forgetting.
were.
Let's
Well,
just
I
go back.
actually just started a new one 2 nights ago because I just finished Between a Wolf and a Dog by Georgia Blain, and it was so good.
How many
So good.
stars? How many stars are we giving that?
I'd give it 4.5 out of 5.
That's good.
So quite good. I reckon the 0.5, I don't know why it's not 5 stars. It just didn't feel like a 5 star.
And
You know what I mean?
what do you want to be in the mood for if you're going to pick up that book?
You want to be in the mood for melancholy, a bit of
Oof.
sadness going on.
So you need a good cry.
Yeah. It's not super uplifting, but it's a lovely read. And it's all about how people look at life and death and the intertwining relationships of this family and what they've all been through and how they deal with it. So it's not like a super exciting adventure novel, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it. And I've just started reading Tangi by Witi Ihamaida, and it's the 50th anniversary. I didn't even realize it was his first novel and the first novel published by someone who's Māori.
Wow.
In
That's awesome.
1973, I think it was.
Wow.
I know.
Witi
Date.
Ihamaida also wrote Well Rider?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so what was the first recommendation?
Between a Wolf and a Dog by
Okay.
Georgia Blain.
So if you're perhaps experiencing too much joy and not enough complexity in life, that's where you want to go.
Bring yourself down a notch.
Bring yourself down a notch. Just
If you feel like just being a little sad, but it's not gonna send anyone over the edge or anything, but it's not a joyful read. So maybe not for you at the moment.
No, I'm good.
No.
Well, you remember how I said that I'd started reading Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's commentary in the Bhagavad Gita? I don't know how many months ago I
How's
told
that
you
going?
that. I'm nearly finished.
What is the title? Slow it down. What is the title?
Okay, I think it is Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, verses 1 to 6.
And has it been a real page turner, or has it been a bit of an uphill read?
It's incredibly dense, but full of substance. If you want to kind of elevate your understanding of the purpose of being here and experiencing life and connecting to your spiritual self and understanding how to navigate the world with an established sense of purpose, then spiritual evolution, tick. Absolutely.
So it's a niche topic, you want to say?
I would say it's niche.
Yeah. If you're looking for that specific thing, then it's perfect.
But if you are interested in philosophy, if you are interested in ancient texts, if you're interested in spirituality and personal evolution, then hey, that's the one for you. But you might want to team it up with something a little bit lighter on the side.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Maybe like a little Colleen Hoover sort of situation.
Yeah, maybe that.
Lucinda Riley,
Yeah.
that sort of vibe, yeah.
Maybe that. But I'm quite excited about, getting to the end of that, and then I picked up the next one on the pile, which was Stolen Focus by Johann Hari,
Mm.
and I opened it up and thought, "Oh god, this is gonna be a wee bit lighter." The words were so small. The text is so small and the pages are really thin, and I was like, "I don't know if this is the next one to go for."
Oh, this might be a reading glasses scenario
Well,
because we were talking about this, weren't we?
and I do
Yeah.
now have a prescription.
Okay,
I haven't got
perfect.
the glasses yet, but I do now have a prescription. But
Well, now you've got the perfect moment. You can put on your new glasses, open Johann Hari's book, and learn about how we're basically fucked.
yeah,
That's,
exactly. And
essentially hey, look, spoiler alert with the focus thing. It's it's
it's
not
not good
great.
news.
It's not good.
And this is why it's been sitting on my bedside table since May 2023 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've got to find the focus to read the book about no focus.
exactly. And I've also got an obstacle with the getting the glasses, because now I know that I have a really big decision to make about the frames,
Mm.
and that's holding me back.
Have you looked on Pinterest?
Of course not.
Yeah, go on Pinterest
But,
and
but how do I know what they'll look like on my face? I just thought I'd take a friend with good taste.
well, I think it's a good idea to go with an idea of the type of frame that you like. I reckon, like a few different types of frames that you like, and then you can at least go, and it's not so overwhelming. You can have your pictures saved and be like, I quite like these ones. How about I try on things that look like that and see if any of them will suit me?
Okay.
Could be quite good.
It could be good. I'm probably still not
Mm.
going to do it.
Oh, I do love a bit of Pinterest. Although when I'm saving boards, I'm like, this is so embarrassing, and I really hope that nobody. Well, actually, you can make boards private, but mine are like winter looks. They're so
So how
lame.
do we
They're
find you
really
on
embarrassing.
Pinterest?
I'm gonna have to make everything private now because I can't have anyone
Do it
searching me
quick.
on Pinterest. What kind of pisses me off about Pinterest is I love it so much because, I mean, how are people so creative and how do they have the time and money to do this stuff? Because everything looks incredible. And then I try and recreate it and I'm like, womp womp. It looks just so shit. And I'm striving to recreate the stuff that I've seen on Pinterest. I'm like, oh, that's right. It's because I don't have $50,000 to spend on one room. You know what I mean?
And your kids are going to come along and then they're just going to pull it apart afterwards anyway.
Oh, I know. I've given up on coffee table books. For a while, I would put them back on, put them back on, put them back on. And our little toddlers would just push them off, push them off, push them off. Like they're old enough now that I think they can be trusted with a coffee table book. But now we've got Penny rising up the ranks. And now
Mm.
she's going to get to 12, 13 months. She's going to push them all off the table. Oh, God.
No, you can't win. You
No,
cannot
you
win.
can't win.
Well, Maddie.
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for the moment when we can bring it in. Is it
Okay,
time?
I think it's time. So, Friday night, we did the social experiment, some girlfriends and I, and we went to the lock and key party.
Yes. So for the listeners that
That
didn't listen to the last
listen,
episode with
right,
you and me.
okay. So it's a singles event, and the idea is to get people away from the dating apps and meeting people in person, and a little bit of the old fashioned way. And women get predictably a lock, men get a key, and then you have to go around and you've got to have conversations with people, and then you try the lock and the key and you see if it will open.
It's a great play on a P&V, isn't it?
It's a great play on a P&B, but it's also, it lent itself too well to penetration jokes. And I was like, oh, please, can no one just grab that low-hanging fruit? But the host did. So,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
And he's like, now don't go around with your locks and your keys. Hang it out. Just hang it out for everyone. So tuck them away. Put them in your pocket.
And is everyone like, oh yeah.
No, there was a lot of like, oh, there was too many innuendos. So, picked up my friend. We both had to have a bit of a like shower boogie to psych ourselves up. And then on the way to the event, I did what Morgan Penn would do on her way to King parties. We decided to do the desires, fears, and boundaries exercise because we were both feeling pretty nervous. So much it was just, I think I was aware that it was outside of our control, which immediately now makes us feel more uncomfortable because we're so used to being able to control everything. who we have access to, who has access to us, etc., etc. Some of our fears were that I was afraid it was going to have kind of third form disco vibes.
Boys on one side, girls on the other.
Exactly right. Parents kind of looking and whispering behind their hands and pointing at you, trying to reach for the last packet of Ripple's salt and vinegar chippies, that kind of thing. And we were also afraid that it was going to be a cold and drafty hall, that it was just going to have the full lights on, that there was going to be an unequal amount of men to women, that the age range, which was 20 to 65, was either going to have a huge amount on one end, a huge amount on the other end, and very little in the middle.
And how awkward then if it's all 20-year-old guys and like women in their 40s. Like, how does that work?
Well, great question. So I did do a little bit of recording.
How are we feeling?
Oh my god, I feel sick to my stomach. Because I went back and read the instructions. It's being held in a hall for starters.
Which makes me feel like I'm going to get cold.
Yep, and also it's going to be cavernous.
Okay, so Morgan Penn, who does host Sex.life, when she was going to like kink parties and stuff with her friend, they did desires, fears and boundaries before they went to the parties. So they both got on the same page so that they could keep each other kind of safe. Right? So maybe we should both do our desires and then our fears and then our boundaries.
Okay, lead the way.
All right. Okay. So my desires are that there are an equal amount of women and men, and that actually we just get to have real human interactions, and it's like uplifting and restores our optimism.
Yes.
And there's just some fun people. I don't even have a desire to like meet anyone.
Yeah.
My desire is that it's a good experience.
Yes. I'm totally on board with all of that.
Okay.
And I'd like to just add interesting and interested. Do you know what I mean? You know, like someone who can engage in good conversation. Yeah.
All right. What are your fears?
So I think bumping into someone that I've met previously and haven't either had a good connection with or a good experience with. I just don't want those awkward conversations to enter the room.
Yes. Okay.
Without an escape plan.
Okay. I've thought about an escape plan. You know how we were thinking, okay, we need some kind of signal to one another, like help, mayday, mayday, mayday.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought if we tuck both hair behind both ears.
Yeah, great.
Hair behind both ears is get me out right now.
Yeah, if you see my hair in a ponytail, you are going to be like, whoa.
It's a top knot! It's a top knot! Move in!
Oh my god.
But I think behind both ears, that's the signal. This is just an experiment.
It is an experiment.
And you know what? We're giving ourselves a new experience.
Yes.
And if we don't check, never know. But I think for me, the boundaries is I need to know that if we want to get out, that we'll all go.
Yeah.
If we all go shoot around and go ripcord, that we're all going.
Yeah, totally. No questions asked.
Yeah. We might accidentally have a really good time.
Or it gets so much worse than our rock bottom expectations that it is hilarious.
Yes, and then it's a good story. Exactly. It's type 2 fun. It's not fun in the moment, but it's funny afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know, I've got another fear.
Okay.
What if all the lights are on?
Do you know yes, that is also a fear.
Well, we're about to find out because we are arriving. Okay, where should I park? Do I park in there?
Oh, look at all those lights. Yes, I think so.
I'm going. Okay, we're about to see some people who are going. They don't.
Actual youth.
They look young.
They look really young.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going
to
reverse in so that we can make a fast getaway.
Quick getaway. Love
Okay, all right, here we go.
Here we go.
Anyway, so we pull in, and I naturally reverse into the car park so we can make a fast getaway if necessary. And then we notice there's actually quite a lot of younger guys turning up. And we're like,
Right.
okay, or like hard to see in the dark.
Like young, or
Couldn't tell at
like,
that point.
okay.
Okay. We get into the hall. Let me tell you, some fears were immediately realised.
Oh God, they had the fluorescents on, didn't they?
Yes, full overhead lights. It was cold. They had not put the heating on early enough. There were chairs stacked up against the walls.
Oh.
No music.
No music. So it was just like everyone entering into a silent room,
A
a
silent,
silent hall.
brightly lit hall.
Oh.
There were sort of 3 plates of club sandwiches against the wall. And everyone had been invited to dress up as a Bond theme, James Bond theme, but you didn't have to. So what was immediately confusing was that some people had actually gone to like a lot of effort and they looked awesome, and which was so cool. They were bringing their all. It was awesome. The host, confusingly, was dressed up in a Dazed and Confused theme, which really set the tone. There were no decorations. So immediately we're like, okay, let's get our Club
Let's
Sammy.
just recalibrate here.
Let's recalibrate. We're in it now. It was definitely school disco vibes. It also sort of gave that kind of corporate team building day kind of vibe.
That's what I'm getting from it, to be honest.
Yeah, and then a little bit of school holiday activity program.
Oh my God. And it's just like there's something about everyone knowing that they want to choose someone in the room, like everyone kind of being there wanting to choose someone.
Well,
that
hoping
is-
there's going to be
yeah,
someone.
hoping that there's going to be someone, and everyone's sort of scanning each other. How did you find that part about it? Did you feel like people were sort of scanning the room thinking, is there anyone that I'm attracted to or want to talk to?
Kind of, but I would say that the people who attended put in so much effort. They wanted it to be a good experience, and say they brought effort. And more so, I would say, I'm afraid, than the organizer. Look, I probably could soften this, but I've got a cold and I just can't.
Fair enough.
Every time he picked up the microphone, he seemed confused about why it was in his hand. He was like, I can't remember what I was going to say. I can't remember. First of all, we had to all, this is actually, I'm getting like visceral cringe recounting it. We had to all like line up in a semicircle around the room. So then we're really all looking at each other just across this brightly lit, quiet room with no decorations in it. And then we were given some instructions. We had to go and do an icebreaker exercise, which was terrible. Terrible.
What was it?
You had to get in a group of 4 people, and one person had to sort of stand apart from the group. The other 3 had to talk together and make assumptions about that person so that they could hear them. Like, I think Maddie is the kind of woman who was breastfed until she was 7.
They are just asking for awkwardness. Like, how can you? That's the worst icebreaker I've ever heard.
It was the word. Like, we were like, what's the purpose of this? Because people are already feeling, like, and I talked to a lot of people who had come on their own, which is incredibly brave. And you put a certain amount of trust in the organizer to make it an experience that's going to feel comfortable and welcoming and safe. And that was an ice maker exercise, not an icebreaker exercise. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to stand here and watch people make assumptions about me. And I guess the purpose is to be like, oh, well, assumptions aren't accurate or whatever. But that wasn't.
You can't judge a book by its cover.
That
I think
kind of
that's what
thing.
they're trying to go for, but it possibly just didn't land.
It didn't really land. Anyway, then we get into the lock and key situation, and people are going around, they're doing as they're told, and they are having their conversations, and then they're trying the locks and the keys, and they're going around and all of that. What started to stand out to me was that there seemed to be quite a large number of quite young guys, similar age to the host, and I'm like, are these friends of friends ring-ins? I was also aware that there could have been some preloading of some kind of substances before the event.
Are we talking?
I don't want to go into detail
okay,
here. I don't want to
okay.
cast any aspersions.
Okay, right. So we think possibly ticket sales weren't up to par. So we
I think all
maybe...
the women, but like I'd say basically all the women, totally genuine, giving it a go, wanting to be there, and a good proportion of the men. But then definitely, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of the hosts' young friends there making up numbers. And shout out, by the way, to Seb, who wanted a shout out on the podcast. I don't know if he was in any condition to remember that he asked me to do this.
Oh, hi, Seb.
Hi, Seb. But I have to say, lovely, lovely man. Like, lovely young guy, clearly helping out his mate.
And also, I just want to caveat this. Good on them for putting on an event to get people out of their comfort zone and get people together. It's just, I think there's some learnings here for the next one.
I think there's some learnings. Let me just play for you before I wrap up the debrief, because I don't want to shit on the whole idea. Hold on. Although I basically have. So.
Oh god.
What?
Drive!
Which ones of your fears were realised?
Well, let's just start with how bright it was in there. And the fact that there was no wine.
It ends there because lucky I had backed in. No, but there was no wine, so people couldn't even relax with a drink. And fine. Drinking, that's not what it's all about. But I think
but it's the reality of being at an event like that where it's really scary.
Yeah.
And a lot of people could do with a drink to help them in a social situation like that.
Exactly. I would say that I probably could have run that event with about 45 minutes notice. I'm being way too harsh. However, the execution was rudimentary. I'm no two ways about it. But I will say it is worth encouraging these events to take place, because the people that went made a real effort with the conversation. They made an effort with all the activities and getting into it and giving it a go. And what was nice is that no one was on their phones, so people were actually connecting and talking to one another. And when you meet people, there's obviously modern day dating, primarily dating apps, but when you meet people and you're not just presented with their appearance, but you're presented with their personality at the same time, people are infinitely more attractive because you're getting a fuller picture of them. So these events are a really good idea. The concept, there is merit in the concept, and the people that came were awesome. They put in the effort and there were some really nice chats, but the execution was humbling.
Well, I think we can all agree the importance of ambience, especially in a situation like that, right? I mean, the first rule, you'd need some music.
Yeah.
Because if people are entering into a giant hall filled with people that they are hoping that they'll meet someone special, it can't be silent with the sound of boots on wooden floors echoing around the room.
The quiet chewing of an egg Sammy.
Oh, foul. I mean,
and it was cold.
They were egg Sammies, so they're smelly.
Club sandwiches, so
Yeah. Oh, smelly.
So it's definitely worth supporting events like this to take place. Will I go to another one of theirs? I would say no. But we did have a good debrief afterwards, and we did note it's great to meet people in person, be off your phone. We did have some nice conversations.
Well, the value of human connection and how important it is in a society and a dating world as well that actually doesn't place a lot of value on that anymore, and how actually it's a bloody good place to meet someone at a singles event, because that, well, if it's if it's run well,
yeah,
because everyone's on the same page, there's no kind of fumbling about with that sort of thing, and you're in person, and it's also efficient, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it is. What's cool about it is that you do have to turn up and make an effort and be vulnerable and even just like have the courage to go in the first place and to take a chance. And so everyone has turned up with some vulnerability. So they are immediately more human and more relatable. And so you're also open to having conversation and giving that person the time. And I think that that kind of vulnerability and openness and lack of judgment, that's been really lost in modern dating, because a lot of it, you're encouraged to be judgmental, you're encouraged to be superficial, you're encouraged to move fast, and you're encouraged to play it too safe. I think these days people don't take enough social risks because you don't have to. And we're really missing that connection socially, even in just small instances where you could talk to someone standing next to you in the line for coffee. You know, people don't. They're just in their phones and with people that they feel safe. So I would say we left and we were relieved that it was done, but we were also glad that we did it. We were glad that we did it because it took some level of vulnerability and some level of bravery to even just try something new where you knew you were going to feel a bit exposed. So worthwhile exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And on to the next experiment. We decided we must keep throwing ourselves into the breach and doing social experiments.
Oh, I love that so much, because talking about how we don't have a lot of human connection in the modern world because we're always on our phones, everyone's on their phones. It's actually like, if you have a day, right, where you're like, I'm not going to go on my phone, even if I'm waiting for the doctor and he's 45 minutes late or whatever, I'm not going to go on my phone. Or if I'm at a cafe waiting for my food, when you look around, it's really sad when you think, oh my God, we're all just staring at our phones. And there is so much opportunity to just have these little conversations here and there or connect with someone that are just missed. They're so often missed, and it's really sad.
Yeah, and I think like we actually have to make a concerted effort to do things differently because our phones have our attention all the time. They're taking it all the time. So sometimes I've started walking the dog without listening to anything. So I can just be present, you know, with the dog in nature and just actually give myself a break from the constant sensory input and overload, which actually I enjoyed taking a break from on my car ride because I was less available. Also, I walked the dog twice yesterday because I was like, oh, I wonder if my park boys are out tonight, you know, my dog walking park, the park boys.
Is it Walter?
Wyatt, and Barry and John.
Of course.
I didn't see any of my park boys. However, I'll be back. And this is why also I've loved going to my evening sauna and ice bath sesh, because everybody in there, obviously no one's on a device, and everybody in there is actually really ready, willing, and eager to chat. It's so nice. Like, people are coming there for social connection. We're all getting to know each other and all getting to sweat together. And but just all acknowledging, like, we would rather have environments like this where people can sit in a small group and connect with one another at the end of the day than go to the pub. And also it means that you're getting to connect with different people, just whoever's in that booking, you know, whoever's in that session, and just everyone is acknowledging the value of that and how there needs to be more of it.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I feel like, well, we're born to have community, you know. We crave it. We crave human connection. We need it. And I remember when we first moved to Warkworth, actually, like when we lived in Auckland, we didn't know like any of our neighbours or anything. We hardly ever saw them. It just wasn't really a thing, which is fine. There are pros and cons to cities and towns. But when we moved to Warkworth, I remember we called a local tradie for something. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Was he a plumber? Something. Anyway, so he was this old dude and he came in and, you know, did the job, and then he just stayed for a bit of a chat. And he was chatting away, and I was kind of like pushing him out the door a bit, you know. I was like, yeah, righto, okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. See you later. And afterwards I said to Art, oh yeah, he sort of just like took ages to leave and just really wanted to chat. And Art was like, yeah, that's kind of small town living, like people we might even have people pop in unannounced and they might just come in for a cup of tea. And he was like, it's okay. Like if you don't have anything urgent to do straight afterwards, just have the chat. And I was like, okay. And now it's hilarious. Like after being here for 5 years, we'll go to our local cafe and there's all the local people. It's like an episode of The Simpsons, it's everyone has a little role and we talk to the people in the different roles and it's just really lovely. I love it. After heading into town and talking to all my different people and then coming home, I feel great. I feel like my cup is full and I'm ready to start the day because I've had a dose of human connection. And there's something about it that you can't get that through technology. It's an illusion. It's an illusion of connection, but
Yeah.
it's not real substantial connection.
No. Not like this though, everybody. This is
not like this. No, this is different.
This is different. We're all here. We're all in it together.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, so I reckon a good way to start is to just bring a book with you wherever you go. So you've got it in your bag.
Yeah.
And then if you're suddenly delayed or your friend that you're meeting is running 10 minutes late, you've got a little opportunity to read or do something else instead, or a crossword, like a little old lady, rather than being on your phone.
Little book of Sudoku puzzles.
A little book of Sudoku. Yeah, something like that. So
anyway, I think it's a good challenge and it's a good pursuit to notice the occasions where there could be the opportunity for connections and micro-social interactions or people that are around that you actually might be able to connect to, and just seeing if we can spend a little bit less time getting lost in our phones.
Oh, I know. Well, after you read Johann Hari's book, you'll be even more into that. Like after I listened to the audiobook, I didn't read it, but after that I was like, right, no more. I say no more. It's so tempting to just get rid of the bloody thing. Like I go through stages because obviously social media is my job and I do really enjoy it. But at the same time, I feel like it robs me a bit of my time to create, and I sometimes get a bit pissed off about that because I'm like, I feel like I have this urge inside of me to create. It's like this creative force that I can't quite get to. It's almost like I'm kind of scratching away at the surface trying to access this creativity that I know is there. And sometimes I can get into it a little bit, but the phone really gets in the way of it. And then I think to myself, am I going to get to like 95 years old and think I didn't create anything because my phone took up all of that time and I could have done so much more? It just, I just get a bit
and I think because
wound up about it.
Yeah, because we're always responding to notifications, things that are coming in all the time, or at least getting distracted by them. I notice that sometimes I feel quite fragmented, and that's hard enough for me to concentrate on things as it is, but even more so fragmented because it's constantly getting my attention. And so a lot more I'm just putting it on do not disturb so that I'm getting used to longer periods where I'm remaining focused on something else or present with something else, where I'm not always having to be brought out and then get myself back in. So I'm just like playing around with it because I feel that too, that it's stealing kind of a lot of the essence of who I am. And when I am, just out in nature and stuff, I do want to feel present and immersed in it. And I don't want to be looking down, replying to something that can wait.
Oh, and
at most
99%
of it
99% of the time
can wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is starting to change as well. People are starting to understand boundaries. If we're clear about boundaries, being like, I'm not going to be available for this time, and it's becoming more and more acceptable, I guess, in the workplace. I think for people to go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and I think we need to get accountable now, because our children are going to be the ones that we're giving dumb phones to, that we're saying we don't want these things to happen to you, and we don't want you to lose your childhood with these distractions and with these problematic algorithms and with bullying and all of that sort of stuff. They're going to be looking at us and being like, yeah, but
Yeah.
how about you get off your phone? So I think,
and then that's really hard, because then we explain like, yeah, but we're addicted and we're trying to get off it, and we're trying for you to not have this problem that we are now faced with. But that's like really hard for kids to understand, because like I remember one of my parents, I won't name names, but like I
50% chance of getting it right.
but I would sometimes find out that they'd had a little cigarette.
Ooh.
And I know, a little stress cigarette, and for some reason I just like really got upset about that. But then I obviously wasn't allowed to smoke, and I was a teenager, and then they would find out that I had been smoking, or like they'd find a packet of cigarettes in my school bag or whatever, and they would obviously get really upset about it. And I'd be like, but you sometimes do it, and I know that you occasionally have it. But even though I know that they're not a smoker and they don't enjoy it, but it's like a stress thing, but kids just find it hard to put things into context.
No,
of adult
and nobody
scenarios.
likes hypocrisy.
Mm.
And they're smart enough to see when it's there. So yeah, so I thought before I get called out on it by my children, I'm just going to start to create a little bit more discipline around when I'm just putting it down and not engaging with that and just being present, because I want to be ahead of the game, and I know that some habits need to change, and I will feel better, and I feel better for having less engagement.
100%. Yeah. I feel like the more time you spend on your phone, the worse you feel.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
It's just every time, if I have a big phone day, I feel like shit at the end of the day. Just like tired, and I'm just kind of disgusted with myself. You know, I'm just like,
feel dirty.
God. Yeah. Oh, you succumb to the temptation again, you know? It's so bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a constant thing, isn't it?
It's a constant thing. Well, what's nice is that we've got to sit here and have this conversation and not be on our phones.
Exactly. We've been on our laptops instead.
But everything's on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, exactly. We're not getting any notifications, and I reckon podcasts are fine. You know, like they're not it's a separate thing.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Don't worry about that, guys.
It's long form. It's enjoyable. You know, we're not hacking your what do you call it? Dopamine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're safe. You're safe here. It's a safe zone. Well, Maddie, let's wrap up. I'm going to go blow my nose, have some Lemsip, and carry on.
Oh, look after yourself. Maybe run yourself a nice hot bath.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, it does sound
do you
nice.
have any Epsom salts? Maybe
I do.
Get some of that in there.
I do. Yeah. I've got the fire on. It's kind of like a grey and drizzly day, and so it's just nice and cozy in the house.
Oh, it's a nice day for a cold.
Oh, it's a great day for a cold.
All right, then. Well, you rest up.
Thank you.
And we will see you all next week. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untidy. If you enjoyed it, we would really love your help to support us to continue to make the show. Things you can do that make a huge difference is subscribing to the show so you never miss an episode. You can also leave us a little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And of course, please share this podcast with your mates. It means that we can continue to build this community, keep putting out Untidy episodes, and just keep doing what we love to do.
And don't forget to check out mybigmoments.com for kids' books that make your tricky job of parenting just a whole lot easier. Untidy listeners get a discount at checkout, so just pop in Untidy for 10% off your order when you check out. And lastly, we would like to thank all of the good people that make this podcast possible: Flicker Williams and Joe Rocker at My Big Moments for the beautiful artwork and design, and Maxine London Creative for editing this episode. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Mate wa.